In a world where faith holds families together and love can tear them apart, one young woman takes her first step toward destiny. Zuri Zikhalala leaves the red dust of Mpumalanga behind, carrying her family's prayers and the weight of a promise she doesn't yet understand. Ahead of her waits the steinfarm and a future that glows with hope and hidden shadows. I'm ascending faith, and this is a sin called love, the journey to Cape Town. Every journey begins with faith, but not every faith ends the same. In the next episode, Zuri arrives in Cape Town, where promises meet temptation, and destiny begins to stir. Like, comment, and subscribe to stay with the story. I'm ascending faith, and this is only the beginning.
To drain to cook, she pulled into town and bought greasy takeout burgers wrapped in wax paper, chips salted heavy. That evening, John came home smelling of diesel dust. He studied her face as she set the parcels on the table. The emptiness in her eyes made him hesitate, but he didn't press. For the first time in days, he ate heartily. "Thank you, Alana," he murmured, reaching for her hand across the table. She managed a faint smile. He mistook it for peace, but in her chest, the heaviness only grew. That night, as he held her close, the silence between them throbbed with unspoken words. The suggestion. A week passed. Alana's turmoil did not ease. One evening, after the children had gone to bed and the house was still, she lit a single lamp in the sitting room. The shadows pressed in around her. Folding her hands tightly in her lap, she forced herself to speak. "John," she began, her voice trembling. "Do you remember Mr. Zikhalala from my father's farm?" "Yes, of course," John said slowly. His eyes narrowed with caution. "His daughter, Zuri. She just finished matric. Her family can't afford her studies. Maybe." Alana swallowed hard. Her throat felt raw. "Maybe we could hire her, give her a good salary, renovate the old cottage, support her studies, help her family." John leaned forward sharply. His chair scraped the floor. "Wait, Alana, what are you saying?" Her lips parted, but no words came. Her pulse hammered in her ears. "I'm saying," she faltered, the words sticking like ash in her throat. Maybe she could. Her lips parted, but the words stuck like ash. "I'm saying," her voice faltered, "maybe she could." John was on his feet before she finished. His chair scraped hard against the floorboards. "No." His voice was sharp, almost breaking. He stared at her, eyes wide with disbelief. "Alana, no. I do not want any other woman in my life. A girl, no less." "Did you even think about what you just said?" The tremor in his words wasn't anger alone, it was hurt, raw and unguarded. Alana opened her mouth, desperate to explain, but the words tangled in her throat. John lifted his hands as if to stop her. His jaw was tight, his chest rising and falling as though he had just sprinted the rugby field. Without waiting for her reply, he turned and strode out of the room. The back door creaked shut behind him, leaving Alana in stunned silence. The night air slapped against his skin. John paced across the stoop, the gravel crunching beneath his boots. His heart pounded painfully. Hurt, betrayal, confusion. The one woman he adored above all, the mother of his children, had just spoken of another woman sharing what was theirs. He dragged his hand across his face, muttering to himself. How could she say that? Doesn't she know? Doesn't she see our love is stronger than my yearning? Yet, as he walked, the night breeze cooled his burning chest. The farm stretched before him, dark and quiet, the wine carrying the faint scent of maize and earth. He stopped, staring into the shadows of the wide fields. And there it was in his mind's eye, the laughter of children, more and more of them, filling the corridors of the farmhouse, running barefoot through the fields. Their voices carried on the wine until it was almost real. John swallowed hard, his fists loosening at his sides. This wouldn't be stepping out on her, he whispered to the night. Not if it was her idea. Not if it was for our family, our dream. The thought unnerved him, but it also warmed him in a way that frightened him more. A girl, innocent and strong, bearing his children, it would be wrong, wouldn't it? Or was it simply another way to keep the dream alive? By the time he turned back toward the farmhouse, guilt pressed heavily on his chest. He had stormed out too quickly. He had not listened. Alana had spoken out of love, even if her words had shaken him to his core. The house was quiet when he returned. Alana sat on the couch, pale and exhausted, her hands knotted in her lap. Her eyes lifted at the sound of his boots. fear flickering their fear he might still be angry. John crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled her into his arms. He held her tightly, his cheek against her hair, his voice breaking. "I'm sorry, my love. I got scared. I've never thought of any other woman worthy of my babies but you. I can't even imagine it, but—" He kissed her forehead tenderly. "I want to thank you for even considering this for me, for us, for my desire to have more children." Ilana closed her eyes, a tear slipping free. His arms around her were her home, her anchor. They sat down together, their hands intertwined, and for the first time allowed the suggestion to be spoken of plainly. Ilana's voice trembled as she began. "Peter said, Zuri is beautiful, humble, kind, hard-working. She just finished matric. John, top marks, but her family can't afford her studies. She's looking for a way out." John leaned back, his brow furrowed. "And you think she would want this? To give us children, Ilana? She's barely more than a child herself." "I don't know," Ilana admitted. Her voice cracked, "but I thought, maybe it could be a way to give her a future too. We could pay for her studies. We could help her family. It wouldn't just be for us, it would be for her too." John shook his head slowly, the weight of it heavy. "But would she see it that way? Or would she think we were using her? What if she feels robbed of real love? Of choosing her own life?" Ilana bit her lip. She hadn't thought it through, not fully. What if she already loved someone else? She whispered. "Exactly." John's voice was soft, but firm. "And what about her parents? What would they think of us, of me? Would they believe I took advantage of their daughter?" Silence stretched. Both of them sat in the low lamplight, the shadows of the room closing in. John rubbed his temples, then dropped his hand onto Ilana's. "I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to dishonor this marriage. But the thought of more children, it grips me. Ilana, it's like a fire I can't put out." Ilana met his gaze, her own eyes wet. "And I don't want to lose you to that fire. If I can't give you more children, and you can't let go of the dream, what will happen to us?" John's throat tightened. He pulled her into his arms again. "We'll talk. We'll pray. We'll decide together. But know this, Ilana. You are my first love. You are the only woman I have ever wanted. This idea, it will never change that." Her forehead pressed against his chest, and though the storm was far from over, the words softened the silence that had once roared between them. Morning sunlight spilled across the kitchen as Ilana washed breakfast dishes and John bounced, Daniel on his knee. The baby was due for his nap, and silence finally fell over the farmhouse. Ilana dried her hands on a towel, nerves knotting her stomach. She glanced at John, who gave her a steady nod. Together, they lifted the cell phone and dialed Peter's number. "Good morning, Peter," Ilana began, her voice trembling slightly. "How are you doing?" Peter's voice came warm, but cautious. "I'm well, sis. How are the children?" "They're good," John answered this time, his tone calm but purposeful. "We've thought about your suggestion." On the other end, Peter sucked in a sharp breath. No, don't consider that." "I'm sorry, Ilana. I didn't mean for it to become a thought at all. It just came out, the first thing that came to mind." "Forget it, please." "Peter," John interrupted firmly. "It's okay. We have considered it, and we'd like you to please speak to Mr. Zikhalala." Silence. Then Peter's voice, wary. "Speak to Joseph." "About what exactly?" John leaned forward over the table, his voice steady. "We'd like to offer Zuri a position, a job at our farm office. She will stay in the cottage, we'll renovate it for her. But don't tell her about that yet. It'll be a surprise." Ilana's hands trembled slightly as she added, "We'd also like to renovate their family home, from scratch. Bigger, better. Each child to have their own room. Their parents a proper bedroom. The grandmother a room of her own. Even one for Zuri when she visits." Peter exhaled slowly, stunned into silence. But John wasn't done. "We'd also like to provide Joseph with a retirement fund. Something generous. So when he leaves work, he won't struggle to live on the small government grant. His family should never have to fear poverty again." Peter blinked, pacing his office now. "John, there's more," John pressed. "We want to send Zuri's siblings Zinhal, Zema, and little Zakal to a private school in Mpumalanga, with full tuition, uniforms, everything. We'll cover their medical aid as well. Every need, whether it's flu or something worse, will be seen to. We'll pay Zuri's travel to Cape Town, new clothes, a proper bag, everything she need, even food for the journey. And we'll pay for her further studies while she's here." The line went quiet. "Peter," Ilana said gently, "this isn't just for us. It's a way of thanking their family too. remember Mama Namsashi was injured on your farm. And after that year, things became harder for them. This is, in part, to make right by them, to bless them. At last Peter spoke, his voice low and unsteady. Are you both sure about this? Do you understand what you're saying? What if Zuri? What if she doesn't want to give you children? What then? Would you take it all away? John's answer came immediately. No. If she doesn't, we will understand. None of this would be taken away. The job, the schooling, the house, the medical aid, it would all remain. We want to help them, regardless. Alana's voice softened. It would be our way of thanking them for years of loyalty and service. For their struggles we never carried. For the work they've done for us. Peter rubbed his forehead, overwhelmed. Okay. I'll speak to Joseph. But, my word, are you certain? Yes, John said firmly. We're certain. Peter's doubt. When the line went dead, Peter lowered his cell phone slowly. He paced his office, his heart hammering. Oh Lord, he muttered. What have I done? A heaviness pressed on his chest. Images flickered through his mind. Zuri walking across the Boda farmyard. Her quiet smile, her willingness to help without complaint. He remembered the times she stayed late to tidy, the small jobs he'd asked her to do when no one else was available. He remembered slipping her extra money for her work more than the others without even questioning himself. And now, the thought of her moving to Cape Town filled him with unease. What if she doesn't like it? What if I never see her again? What if? He stopped himself, forcing his thoughts into silence. With a heavy sigh, he called Joseph to his farm office. Joseph's dilemma. Joseph, Peter said when the man entered his office, removing his hat respectfully. Do you remember my sister Ilana, married to John Stain? Joseph smiled faintly. Yes, of course. How could I forget them? They have made an offer, Peter began carefully. They'd like to hire Zuri to work in their farm office. They'll pay her well, renovate your family home, provide a retirement fund for you, private schooling for the children, medical aid for all of you, cover travel, clothing, studies, the works. They want her to come within a week, if you agree. Joseph froze, rubbing his head slowly. All that? For my daughter? Yes, Peter nodded. They said it's because you've worked for our family for so long, because of the hardship after Mama Namsa's injury. They want to bless you for your loyalty. And they believe Zuri is bright, capable, deserving. Joseph shifted uncomfortably. But, why so much? Why all this? Peter hesitated, then forced a smile. Because they're generous. Because they can. Joseph frowned, but said nothing. I cannot say yes or no now. I must discuss with my wife, my mother, and Zuri herself. This is not a small thing. Of course, Peter said, relief mingled with unease. Take your time. The Zikhalala family. Not far from the Boda farm, in the heart of a small township just outside Mpumalanga, stood the Zikhalala home. It wasn't much by the standards of the farms around it. The walls were cracked. From years of rain and sun, the roof leaked whenever storms came down hard, and the ceiling sagged in places where the boards had given up. In winter, cold crept in through the broken window frames. In summer, the heat settled like a heavy blanket. And yet, for all its broken bricks and patched tin sheets, the Zikhalala house was a home alive with warmth. At its center was Joseph Zikhalala, the father, a man of strong shoulders and weary hands, his palms calloused from decades of farm labor. He had once dreamed of becoming a teacher, but life had pushed him toward the fields. He carried that disappointment quietly, never bitterly, and poured himself instead into raising his children with dignity, honesty, and love. When he returned home from work each evening, sweat-soaked and tired, his first words were always, God has carried me again today. Beside him was his wife, Namsa, known in the community as Mama Zikhalala. Firm but tender, her love ran deep and wide, as strong as the stews she cooked that always seemed to stretch far enough to feed a neighbor in need, no matter how little they had. Her kitchen was clean, her pots were full, and her laughter softened the hardest days. Watching over them all was Gogo Thoko, Joseph's mother. At 84, her frame was frail, but her spirit uncheckable. She wrapped herself in the same wool blanket summer or winter, sitting outside in the evenings to tell stories of the old days, tales of wars survived, of ancestors who prayed rain into dry skies, of miracles born out of hardship. The children adored her, and so did the neighbors, for she spoke with a wisdom that cut straight to the heart. Then there were the children. Zuri, at 19, was the eldest, beautiful in the way kindness shines through. her face carrying both youthful promise and the quiet weight of responsibility. Bright, intelligent, and disciplined, she rose before dawn to sweep the yard, fetch water, and help her siblings before school. At night, by the faint glow of a candle, she devoured borrowed books, her mind stretching far beyond the township's cracked pavements. Her dream was to be a doctor, though she never said it aloud without adding, if God wills it. Her sister Zinhol, 15, was outspoken, sharp, and unafraid to ask questions that made adults shift in their chairs. She loved school and especially science, always telling her father that one day she would stand in front of a classroom herself. Zema, 13, was tender-hearted, often caught sketching flowers in the dirt with a stick or writing small poems in the corners of old notebooks. She felt deeply for her family, for neighbors, for every stray animal that limped past their gate. And little Zachel, just 9, the spoiled youngest. He was sweet and funny, often indulged by his sisters. He dreamed of drawing superheroes and animals, though he mostly loved being pampered, soaking up all the affection poured his way. Faith as their foundation. What bound the Zikhalalas wasn't money. There was almost none of that, nor was it comfort. What bound them was faith. Each morning, before Joseph went to work, the family gathered in the small living room under the cracked ceiling. They sat close, knees brushing, Bibles open on laps. Joseph's old Bible was worn thin, its cover frayed, but he read it faithfully, his voice steady. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Namsa would lead the prayer, her voice strong and full of certainty. Father, you are our provider. You have given us breath this morning, and that is enough. We trust you for food, for shelter, for education for our children. We believe in miracles, Lord, because we see them in our daily bread. The children would echo their amens, some softly, some loud. Even Zachel, half asleep, would mumble it before dozing off against Gogo's shoulder. At night, when storms lashed against their leaking roof, they prayed again. When school fees seemed impossible, they prayed again. When Namsa stretched one pot of food to feed not just their family but the neighbors, they prayed again. They didn't ignore their worries, but they always laid them down before God. Faith, for the Zikhalalas, was not just belief. It was survival. It was hope. It was their miracle. And though their walls were cracked and their ceilings leaked, the Zikhalala home stood strong, for it was built not only with bricks but with prayer. The family council. That night, Joseph returned home and gathered his wife, his elderly mother, and Zuri around the table. He explained everything: the job, the home, the schooling, the medical aid, the retirement fund. The room filled with murmurs. His wife frowned deeply. His mother shook her head. Even Zuri sat frozen, her brow furrowed. It is too much, Joseph's wife said. Why would they give all this? What do they really want from her? They say it is to thank us, Joseph replied, though even he sounded unconvinced. They want our daughter, the grandmother muttered. And when people give too much, it is because they want more than they say. The discussion spiraled long into the night. There were pros: education, opportunity, safety, dignity, but the cons weighed heavier. Zuri's future, her choices, her freedom. And underneath it all, though they did not know it, there lingered a truth unspoken: the possibility that Zuri's body and future might be tied not only to work and study, but to the unfulfilled yearning of John Stain. That evening, the Zikhalala family sat together in their small living room. The cracked walls let the wind sigh through the gaps, and the roof above still bore marks of the last storm. But the family gathered close: Joseph, Namsa, Gogothoko, and the 4 children. A single candle flickered on the table. Before a word of discussion, Joseph cleared his throat. We'll not decide this with our minds first, he said softly. We will pray. They bowed their heads. Namsa's voice rose first, strong despite her aching knee. Lord, you know our worries and our fears. You know the dreams of our daughter, Zuri, and the struggles of this family. If this is your will, make it clear to us. If it is not, close the door firmly. We put this decision into your hands. Amen, echoed through the room. Even little Zachel mumbled his amen sleepily against his grandmother's shoulder. After the prayer, they began to speak. Slowly at first, carefully. Joseph voiced the risks. She has never left Mpumalanga. What if Cape Town is too far? What if she's not safe? Namsa, though protective, admitted what weighed heavy in her heart. Our girl is brilliant. She has always dreamed of studying further. Here, she will wither. There, she may bloom. Zinho leaned forward, fiery-eyed. Baba, she must go. If Zuri goes, she opens doors for all of us. We'll get better schooling, Gogo will have medicine for her arthritis. Mama will have care for her knee. It's not just for her, it's for all of us. Even gentle Zama, usually quiet, whispered, I don't want her to go. But if she goes, maybe we'll have a real home. Maybe the roof won't leak anymore. And then wise old Gogo Thoko spoke, her voice thin but steady. Children, do not be afraid. God answers prayers. Sometimes he answers in ways we cannot understand. Sometimes through people we do not expect. I believe this is God's answer. The room stilled. The candle flickered. It was then that Joseph nodded, his jaw tight with the weight of fatherhood. Then we agree. If Zuri wishes it, she will go. Zuri herself had sat quietly through it all, tears glistening in her eyes. Now she spoke, her voice trembling but sure. I will go, Baba. Not for me only. For us. For our family. For the life we've prayed for. Her decision was made. The family, united in faith, accepted it. The next morning, Joseph woke long before sunrise. He finished his chores with unusual speed, his heart heavy with the conversation that awaited. By the time Peter Boda arrived at the farm office, Joseph was already waiting outside. Joseph, Peter greeted, forcing cheer into his voice. Come in. Sit down. Joseph removed his hat, sat stiffly, and folded his calloused hands on the desk. His eyes met Peter's. Before we go further, I must ask questions. My daughter's life is no small matter. Peter's stomach tightened. His ears burned hot, but he managed a nod. Ask away. Joseph leaned forward, voice firm, protective. My daughter has never left Mpumalanga. She has never traveled to Johannesburg. Never mind Cape Town. How can I be sure she will be safe? How can I know she will not be harmed, or lost, or worse? Peter swallowed hard. He had rehearsed answers, but Joseph's eyes pierced through him. She will travel on a luxury bus, Peter began. They are safe, with cameras, blankets for comfort. John and Ilana will provide everything, clothes, expenses, anything she needs. They are renovating a cottage for her on the farm. A new bed, new furniture, everything. She will be looked after like family. Joseph, you have my word. Joseph's hands trembled slightly. His voice broke when he spoke again. And if she is not happy? If she wants to come home? Peter hesitated, then leaned forward, his tone softening. Then she will come home. No conditions, no punishment. The renovations, the promises, all of that will not matter. Your daughter's happiness and safety will come first. Joseph exhaled slowly, the fight in him softening but not gone. Thank you. Then, Mr. Boda, I will say this. As a family, we have prayed. We have agreed. Zuri is excited. She loves to study. She loves to work. But please see to it that she is never harmed. If she is unhappy, she comes back. Promise me this. I promise, Peter said quietly, almost choking on the words. After Joseph left, Peter sat slumped in his chair, his mind in turmoil. His wife, Jane, had warned him, this is dangerous, Peter. She's too young. Why would your sister and John even ask such a thing? And yet, he had pushed forward. Now the decision was set in motion, and there was no turning back. Out of habit, his gaze drifted to the window. Zuri was in the yard, laughing as she carried buckets, her smile lighting the gray morning. Peter's chest tightened, shame burning hot. She was beautiful, pure, innocent. What have I done? He thought, pressing a hand to his forehead. He shook himself free of the thought and reached for the phone. It was time to call his sister. When Ilana answered, Peter wasted no time. It's done, he said heavily. Joseph and the family agreed. And Zuri, she agreed too. She wants to study. She wants to go. On the other end, Ilana let out a shaky breath. John's voice cut in, steady, solemn. And Joseph, what did he say? He said she must never be harmed. And if she is unhappy, she must come home immediately. No matter what has been promised. He was stern, John, serious. Silence. Then John replied, his voice carrying the weight of a vow. Peter, you know me. I am a man of my word. If Zuri is not happy, she will come home. If she does not want to carry my children, she will not. Nothing will be taken from the family. The house, the school fees, the retirement fund, all will remain. This is not about using them. This is about honoring them. I will not disappoint you, or Joseph, or that family. Peter leaned back, relief mixing with dread. All right, he said at last. Then let's pray it is God's will, and nothing else. The line went silent. And outside, in the township, Zuri's laughter carried on the wind, a sound none of them realized would soon change all their lives. The week of preparation. When the decision was finally made, the Zikhalala family was given 1 week. 1 week to prepare their daughter for a new life in Cape Town. 1 week to breathe. Through both joy and fear, Joseph received our 10,000 for Zuri's needs. It was more money than he had ever held in his hands at my once, and he carried it home with trembling fingers, his heart whispering prayers with every step. Lord, keep us humble. Lord, keep her safe. That evening, the family gathered in their small township home. The cracked walls let the wind whistle through. The roof still leaked when the rains came, but their voices rose above poverty. They prayed before every meal, and that week, they prayed before every word. God has opened a door, Joseph said firmly. We will walk through it with faith. They fasted together on the Monday, sharing little more than pap and tea, lifting up their hunger as an offering. They laughed often too, choosing joy over fear. Little Zachel, only 9, clung to his sister's skirt at every turn. Don't forget me, Zuri, he pleaded, tears threatening his big eyes. I'm your little brother. Are they taking you away from me forever? Zuri bent to hug him, stroking his hair. Zachel, she whispered, if I forget you, then I've forgotten myself. And that can never happen, now can it? He sniffled. The others giggled, and soon Zachel did too. Zema, quiet and thoughtful, spoke softly one evening while Zuri braided her hair. Do good, Sisi, whatever you do there, do good, and come home with good stories. Zinhol, on the other hand, couldn't resist her sass. Cape Town, she exclaimed, tossing her braids dramatically. Better than Joburg, I hear. You've got the best blessing this family has ever seen. You better study, you better shine, and you better come back with stories of the sea. You're too smart to fail, Sisi. I'm not even worried. Her words were bold, but her eyes glistened. Zuri squeezed her hand. Gogo Thoko gave her counsel one quiet afternoon, her thin hands resting on her cane. Keep your heart pure, my girl. Keep our name high. Do not forget the ways of this family: respect, prayer, honesty. Cape Town is far, but God is near. And if love finds you, make sure the man is worthy, ambitious, a man who can build a good life. Gogo, Zuri blushed. Remember, the sea is wide, but not as wide as God's hand, said Gogo Thoko. Mama Namsa, her knee aching from old injury, added her own wisdom with a shy smile. Study hard, my girl. Stay away from boys until the right time. Don't go chasing love, but if love finds you, and it is good, don't be afraid. I was 16 when I met your father. She laughed softly, hiding her blush. Zuri rolled her eyes playfully. Mommy, you know me. I've never even dated. I study more than I sleep. Joseph, though, remained stern. His words carried weight. You are the key, my girl. The door God has opened. I am proud of you. But if you are unhappy, you come back. You write, you call, you find a way. Even if the house leaks, even if we eat pap with salt again, you come back. Do you hear me? Yes, Baba, Zuri promised, and she meant it. Shopping day. On Wednesday, Joseph took Zuri to town. The money went further than she had ever imagined. They bought a large travel bag with wheels, a smaller satchel for her personal things, a blanket for the bus ride, and a basket for snacks. Joseph insisted, you must not be cold. You must not be hungry. Then came the clothes. Dresses, tracksuits, jackets, boots, sneakers, slippers, even a gown. At home, Zuri had only 3 dresses and 1 jacket. Now she had enough to fill her new life. She bought for her siblings 2 new school shoes, socks, uniforms. Zinhol squealed when Zuri surprised her with a new bag. Her father finally stopped her. Zuri, don't forget we need groceries too. And you need cash in hand. For tea, for water, for safety. She nodded, cheeks flushed from joy. The trip ended with something they had never done before. Joseph ordered a cab. Not a minibus taxi, not a backy ride, but a real cab to carry their spoils home. Even that ride felt like a dream. In Cape Town, meanwhile, on the steinfarm, the cottage was finished by Wednesday. Fresh paint, new curtains, a soft bed. By Thursday, it was ready for Zuri. In the Boda household, Peter and Jane debated endlessly. Jane had given birth to triplets that week, 2 boys and a girl. Their 7 children celebrated the new arrivals, the house bursting with joy. But Jane's heart carried unease. Peter, she's too young, she whispered. What have we agreed to? Peter only shook his head. It's too late now. On the steinfarm, John and Ilana were at peace for the first time in months. Their marriage glowed with renewed intimacy. They laughed more, prayed together more, and Alana even forgot her contraceptives. They lay together nightly, their bond deepened. But one thing John did not do was picture Zuri as a person. To him, she was not yet real. In his mind, she was an idea, the vessel of his dream. The sound of children's laughter filling the corridors of his farmhouse. For him, it was magical. For Alana, it was survival. And in Mpumalanga, the Zikhalala family spent their last evenings together praying, fasting, laughing, and wrapping their love around Zuri like the blanket she would carry to Cape Town.
You see, faith has a way of testing us when we least expect it. Alana's heart was trying to do right, to love beyond her pain. But sometimes, even good intentions can open dangerous doors. And somewhere far from the Stein farmhouse, a young woman's prayer is being answered, Zuri Zikhalala. She doesn't know it yet, but her life is about to change forever. What Alana thought was a solution is about to become the beginning of a story that will test every heart it touches. This is a sin called love, and I'm ascending faith. If you felt this story tonight, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive, and trust me, what's coming next will move you even deeper. Now let's take a breath, because this journey is just beginning. Morning comes to Mpumalanga, and with it, a decision that will change generations. Zuri Zikhalala, young, bright, and full of faith, steps out of her small world and into one she's only dreamed about. She carries her family's prayers, her father's promise, and a future she cannot yet see. Ahead of her waits Cape Town and the Steins, where kindness and temptation are about to meet for the first time. I'm ascending faith, and this is a sin called love, the journey to Cape Town.